Good morning and welcome to this week's video. I am so delighted that you're joining me today. Today we are here at Catawba Falls, just outside of Old Fort, North Carolina, which is just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm really excited to do this hike with you because I have not done this hike since they've did a lot of work with steps and viewing towers and stuff to see the waterfalls. Additionally, another thing I'm excited about is to test out my new tripod, which is the K&F Concept 76-inch multi-angle tripod, which I will have linked in the description below. And so I have been kind of looking for a new tripod to go on hiking adventures, and when K&F Concept reached out a few weeks ago and asked if I would like to try out one of their tripods, I said yes. And so in this video, I will talk about the tripod. I have, other than putting it together at my house, I have not yet used this out in the field. So this is my real world test of what do I think about this tripod out in the field. So in this video, you will get my pros, my cons, my overall impressions, and who I think this tripod might be perfect for. So even though they gifted me this tripod to try out, they will have no say whatsoever with the what I say about the tripod. And so they won't see this, and at the same time as you guys will see this, so they don't get to see it ahead of time. But you can guarantee that my thoughts and opinions are 100% my own. So anyways, obviously, we're gonna see some photography. We're gonna get photograph some waterfalls. I brought with me today 3 lenses. So I have my Nikon Z6, and then I have my 24 to 70 millimeter lens, which is currently on my camera, and probably the one I'm gonna use for probably 90% of my photos. I did bring my ultra wide angle, the 17 to 28 millimeter f2.8 lens, for potential any wide angle shots of the waterfalls themselves. And then I also brought my macro lens, my MC105 macro lens, because there's lots of ferns, there could be lots of fungi and interesting things to take photographs on the forest floor. So I brought that as well. So a little bit of everything, just don't have my telephoto lens. But yeah, so the trail that we're doing, because there's 2 different trails you can do. The trails are the Ridge Trail, which takes you up about, it's like I think a 2.1 mile hike up to the upper waterfalls, and then you take the stairs down and come back down. So you can do a loop down to the river trail, or you can start with the river trail, which is what I decided to start off with, and do the 1.1 miles to the waterfalls, and then there's 550 steps, I think, up to the upper waterfalls. So I was kind of like, well, which way do I want to go? I was about to do the Ridge Trail, but I decided to do the river trail instead and tackle the 500 steps, mainly because I take so long taking photos that I didn't want to end up doing the longer trail and then have to cut my time shorter due to my time constraints today. So yeah, that's why. But anyways, without further delay, let's continue along on this photography adventure. No problem, be happy to. Did that work for you? Okay, you're welcome. Have a great day. All right. Okay. Go. Thinking a bachelorette party. All right, so camera setting wise on this particular shot, I have an aperture of f7.1 because I do kind of want as much of the scene from forward to back of the scene as in focus as possible. I'm using a shutter speed of 1/15 of a second. I do have my Hoya polarizing filter on, and my ISO was set at 125. So those are the camera settings that I was using. I was kind of focusing mainly on the bridge. Anytime I'm using like a slow shutter speed, I always use like a 2-second or a 5-second delay, and that just kind of takes out any camera shakes. So anyways, we are gonna continue on. I guess my first thoughts on the tripod is it's kind of nice to be able to use this little arm on the multi-angle tool to kind of rotate the camera around a little bit, so that's kind of a nice little feature. So I'm liking that aspect of being able to go like this. So so far, thumbs up. Yeah, so we'll continue on to the hike. So something that I often do when I'm getting ready to photograph a scene that's going to involve my tripod is oftentimes I will take my camera or my cell phone, depending on what is more accessible, and I'll just kind of like, when I come upon a scene, I almost always already have that visual, this is what I want. But when I'm getting ready to set up a tripod, I sometimes like to use my camera or my cell phone to kind of frame up where I think the best shot might be before I go set up the hassle of setting up my tripod. So I think I have a nice little composition over here that we'll talk about a little bit. So we have part of the waterfall right here. The waterfall is kind of framed up between those trees, and so that is the shot that we're going to try to get. I have a feeling that the multi-angle is going to come in really handy here, because to get that shot I have to go out a little bit, and as we can see, it's just straight down. Hopefully I don't lose camera here. Hopefully the tripod successfully keeps it attached, because that would really suck. That would cut this trip very short. But yeah, so I'm gonna go grab my tripod now, get it set up, and get my camera on there, and kind of take some photos. So let's see, is this about where I'm thinking? Okay, all right, maybe. So this is where you can kind of control this knob right here, can control up and down, which is kind of a nice little feature. This is what loosens and tightens this rod for me to be able to move it in and out, which to me is really handy. Obviously, when it goes out here, it's not weighted correctly, so you're going to have to hold on to it if you have this all the way out to hanging off by itself. When it's more centered, or this is here, it's pretty appropriately balanced, at least with this particular lens setup. I kind of like that, so we're going to tighten this down. Okay, I think I have it set up. So my camera settings for this first photo I'm taking with it is 1/4 of a second, aperture f8, ISO 100. I do have the circular polarizing filter on, and I have a 2-second timer delay. So I'm gonna do switch it to a 5-second shutter delay because of how long it is out. I think with the 5-second, it will help it settle down a little bit more before it takes the photo. I have to say, it is very awkward to maneuver with also retaining full control of your camera. Not the sturdiest of tripods, but that's kind of to be expected when you have something out this far. I really like that composition. I'm gonna snap a couple more photos, and then we're gonna pack up and continue up along the trail. And so begins the trek of 1,000,000 stairs, or like 550, 500, somewhere around there. but I'm excited. Okay, so I'm getting ready to compose a couple shots and stuff. So I have one that's gonna be kind of a low angle one, so I'll get down here low to get up that way. And then I'm gonna go over here a little bit more into the center and take another shot going upwards. We'll see. I'm gonna start off with the 24 to 70. If I can't quite get the angle, I'll switch to the 70 to 28. I did do an ultra wide angle shot with my phone out there, and I'm almost certain I'm going to be swapping lens to the 17 to 28 to get the full-fledged shot of the waterfall. But this is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Can't wait to take some photos, which I'm going to do right now. So I hope you enjoy these photos. So I made it back to my house and I wanted to dedicate the time to really kind of talk about the tripod and give you my pros and my cons. Kind of start off with the K&F Concept Multi-Angle Tripod is priced as an entry-level tripod. However, there's so much versatility with this tripod that even the seasoned enthusiast will find value in this tripod. When I was looking for a tripod, I was looking for something that was lightweight and travel friendly. And for me, travel friendly means that it can fit into my carry-on bag. And this particular tripod absolutely fits into my carry-on bag. So check one, yes, yay, super excited about that. When it comes to the weight of the tripod, so my LaPhoto Ranger tripod without the extender, because I rarely ever use that extender, comes in as 4.1 pounds. The K&F Concept Multi-Angle Tripod with the multi-angle attached also comes in as 4.1 pounds. So I didn't really save weight. However, if I just use the bald head of the tripod, it does come in as 2.7 pounds, so I can save weight in that regards. So let's kind of jump into some of my cons of the tripods, or things that I think should be noted of if you're looking at purchasing this tripod. So one thing of note to me is that there are lots of plastic components of the tripod. So this top plate and the little plate that attaches to your camera is made of plastic. It's a point that could fail in the future. The other thing that I noticed when I was out hiking around and utilizing the tripod is that every once in a while it felt like I didn't quite get some of the knobs tightened all the way. So there was times where I thought I had it and then I realized I didn't, and so the camera would just move just slightly and I'd have to like refigure the compositions. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is there was times where it didn't feel as stable, especially when you're using the multi-angle lever and it's out further. There's nothing counterbalancing the weight on this side, so it would have a tendency to want to drop. So if you're going to use the multi-angle lever, you want to make sure that you have a firm grip on your tripod. Anytime the camera was more centered into the center, it felt very sturdy and I didn't really feel any instability in that regards, and especially when it was like lower to the ground, it felt very sturdy. So something else that I wanted to make note of is when it comes to the travel case or the case for the tripod, to fit the tripod in, you do have to disassemble it. So every time you take it in and out of the bag, you're gonna have to assemble it and disassemble it. And so that's just one extra step at the beginning and end of a photography adventure for me that I'm gonna have to do whenever I use this tripod. It's not like the biggest issue in the world. It's just something to note. It doesn't take a lot of effort to assemble it, but it's just an extra step to be noted. Moving on to the positives, things that I love about this tripod. So the legs of this tripod extend using the flip locks. And so this was super simple to make sure that when I had it extended and I locked it in place, that it was staying. With my Lefoto Ranger tripod, it utilizes the twist lock method, and so when you twist it, you extend the legs out and then you twist it to tighten it back in. And there have been times when I have used it out in the field where I don't get the leg or it tightened all the way, and then slowly a leg starts to droop. So it was really handy. I love that particular feature of this tripod, is the flip locks. That to me was awesome. The other thing, and this to me was another reason why I selected this tripod, is with the multi-angle tool, I was able to fine tune compositions super easy without completely having to move my tripod to get those different compositions. The other thing you can do is you can take the center column, flip it upside down, and use your camera upside down. So you can get those really super low vantage points with this particular tripod, which was pretty awesome. So overall, I would say that I really enjoyed using this tripod out in the field. One of the questions whenever I'm utilizing gear that I always ask myself is, will I continue to use this in my everyday photography adventures? And that answer is yes. I will absolutely continue to utilize this tripod out in the field. It's not going to necessarily replace my Lefoto Ranger tripod, because I love that tripod and it's very sturdy and it's been through a lot. But this is a tripod that I will absolutely continue to incorporate into my photography adventures. That being said, if you want to check out this tripod, like I said, it's in the description below, so please check that out. If you have any questions about the tripod, drop those in the comment section below and I'll be sure to answer them. So anyways, let's wrap this video up. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the photography and seeing Catawba Falls and the photos, and if you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends or family. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I really hope that you do, so you can continue to come along on my photography adventures. Anyways, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.